600 years. Imagine it. Not an empire, but something more like a colossal machine breathing through war. Competing with kings, testing power with sultans. While whole civilizations were born and buried, this one stays standing and growing. An army always on the move, a map stretching from the Balkans to the deserts. And the wildest part? It never collapses under the cost. It never goes bankrupt. That alone makes it an anomaly. Because we tend to believe empires fall once they lose wars. Sounds logical, but it isn't true. The real game doesn't end on battlefields. It ends somewhere more silent, more merciless, and far more boring to the eye, in budgets, in logistics, in payroll. War is just the stage. The real script is written backstage, and right now, we're stepping behind the curtain. The Ottoman Empire first appeared on the stage of history around 1299 and ruled until 1922. Longer than the Roman Empire, longer than the British Empire. Almost the champion of the who lasted longer argument. But that's not the puzzle. The puzzle is this. How does a power constantly at war avoid financial collapse? Because the Ottomans noticed something early. War isn't expense, it's fuel. Conquest isn't victory, it's investment. The army isn't a treasure eater, it's a self-running wheel. The first engine, the Timar system, not salary. Right. Today, states pay soldiers money. The Ottomans paid them differently, by granting them the right to collect taxes in a given region. No fixed salary. This gave soldiers autonomy, but also responsibility. Maintain your horse, commission your armor, prepare your campaign gear yourself. Meaning, the soldier finances the soldier. A stable village meant a stable income source for the cavalry. The state treasury stayed relaxed. The soldiers trusted the system, and the people continued living because the chain of taxation was clearly visible. The second force, the Janissaries shared cost of upbringing. The Janissary Corps was formed through the Devshirme recruitment system, harsh, ruthless, and controversial by nature. But the financial result was brutally clear. The empire didn't pay the lifetime economic cost of raising a soldier. The physical upbringing cost was carried by the conquered population, while the Ottomans only invested in education, discipline, and training. So, cavalry finances itself. Infantry is obtained at a lower life cost, and the empire survives centuries without drowning in debt. The brightest idea of all. War. Paying for the next war. Each newly conquered land wasn't just a color change on the map. It was a new port, trade passage, tax circle, and commercial artery. While European kingdoms returned home poorer after victories, the Ottomans usually came back wealthier, because conquest wasn't glory for them only. It was the budget of the next campaign. Geography, the empire's original beating heart. One of the world's most critical trade veins still exists today, the Bosporus Strait. Back then, it was the windpipe of trade silk, spices, and everything flowing between Asia and Europe. Every item passing through turned into toll taxes. The seas were quiet, but the coffers were loud. But eventually, every system gets tired. By the late 1600s, the world changed. Trade moved from land routes to oceans. Europe industrialized. Armies became salary-based and technology-driven. The Timar system, once a financial superpower mechanism, slowly became a decentralized structure difficult to control. The Janissaries evolved from cost-efficient, unpaid soldiers into politically powerful, expensive elites. And here comes the twist. The empire that lived without debt for centuries finally had to borrow to stay alive. And when those loans arrived, reform was already delayed. The rhythm was already missed. In 1881, Ottoman financial administration was handed over to a foreign commission. The power that once controlled trade and taxation was now handing its future to creditors. And let's say the lesson gently. Growing an empire's land is the easier part. The hard part is never expanding the army without expanding the treasury first. The Ottomans pulled it off early by designing cash flow and payroll burdens intelligently. But once the flow changed direction, the wheel failed to adapt. And the same mechanics still live today in new costumes, trade nodes, strategic sectors, outsourced finance models. It's all just an old empire playbook running a software update. Because history doesn't always repeat itself, but the formula always does. And remember, empires don't die when they lose wars. They die when they can't afford the next one. And that truth still stands steady as stone. Empires don't die when they lose wars. They die when they can't fund the next one.